recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Fire up the projectors, turn on your TVs, and adjust your antennas. It's time for the Screen Addicts podcast with your hosts, Chris, Steven, and Jeremy.
And welcome back to the Screen Addicts podcast, home edition. I am one of your hosts, as always, Chris, the Rona Viegas.
I am Steven Stay Home Sosa.
I am Jeremy under forced quarantine.
Well, hello everybody. How are y'all doing?
Oh, you know, apocalypse aside, pretty good.
Still alive.
Still alive. Nobody has the Rona, right?
No, I'm healthy.
Okay, no. Good. And keep it that way and keep your asses in the house.
Symptoms here.
Although this last weekend we did the backyard and it was a jungle, so I thought, oh my gosh.
Dude, I saw your pictures. You're like Paul Bunyan up in that mug.
Right, and I thought, oh man, my allergies are really bad, so my asthma gets pretty flared up, and I'm sneezing, and people are going to think that I have coronavirus or something.
Oh, no. Man, well, guys, I'm happy to be back. It's a weird circumstance. I mean, we're all able to be on here because, well, we're all stuck at home. Hopefully, I mean, you know, guys, we were talking before we hit record tonight. You know, take it seriously, man. I mean, it may not seem like it's a big thing, but, you know, as much social distancing as you can do it. Let's not take any chances, you know, like just it'll blow over. We just have to be smart about it. So hopefully you're listening to what the CDC has to say and, you know, kind of quarantine yourself at home. Make sure your family and loved ones are going to be safe. So, and other people around you as well. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about, you know, what everybody else is talking about in the world all the time. So we're going to jump in and we're going to do what Screen Addicts do. And we're going to talk about movies and TV and what we always do best. So our first segment, as always, is what we've been watching. Jeremy, take it away, man. What have you got?
Well, since I'm one of the few that's still been working, I don't have much this week. That's going to change now that I'm under forced quarantine.
Now, we're about to have... This segment's about to get 2 hours long.
It's going to be the whole episode.
But this last week, I watched the comedy from last summer from Seth Rogen and his buddy that he always does movies with. The R-rated comedy Good Boys. That's a funny ass movie.
The trailers looked funny. It is very much like what?
Superbad.
Superbad. There you go. I couldn't think of it.
It's super bad for kids.
But still for adults.
But very much still for adults.
Dude, when Jeremy told us that he was watching, I was like, hey, Chris, you going to show this to the boys?
Might as well.
So, you know, I haven't watched it yet, but, I mean, when you watched that movie, and when I watched the trailer, I was like, damn, that was us when little. Like, we didn't give a shit. We cussed. We did all sorts of stupid shit. You know? Did it remind you a bunch of us as kids? Nice.
That's why you should watch it.
What a ringing endorsement.
Nice.
And then since Universal dumped all their movies on video on demand this month, I watched The Hunt, the highly controversial movie that's been delayed and finally released. It's a good movie. It really is.
I have to... Oh, go. Sorry.
I mean, Is it political? Sure. But you know what? It's still got a good story, and it's a good movie. So, whatever.
I love the tagline for it because I watched it as well, and I thought it was awesome. And the tagline for it was like the most controversial movie you still never bothered to see, because it's like that's the point. It's like you made a big fuss about this movie, and then when you watch it, you're like, well, what was the big deal? Like there wasn't even really anything. Yeah, it has some kind of political undertones to it, but nothing that I thought it was, talking about like murdering Congress members or something like that. Something real offensive. And no, there's nothing like that. And I don't know. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie.
Betty Gilpin, who's the lead role in that, she is awesome.
Oh, she was
in
a
that movie.
badass.
Yes, and I thought whenever studios decide to start making movies again, they need to cast her in some kind of like action heroine series or superhero role or something, because she is awesome.
Yeah. Where was she when Laura Croft needed a person to be?
That's a good point. She's in Glow. I haven't really seen her in anything else, but Glow.
I knew she looked familiar.
Yeah, and she was great.
But yeah, that's really all I got for this week. Next week's gonna be
Next
a
week
lot,
it's gonna be
fatter.
bigger.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, cool. All right, what have I been watching? Okay, me and Tasha got into Mad Men actually.
Oh, dude, I will almost start. What are you watching that on?
Netflix.
It's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Oh my god, I was almost tempted. I was thinking, man, I still need to watch Mad Men. It was either that or The Sopranos.
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
is it good?
Dude, I like it, but I like it for probably different reasons than you'll like it, because it's about the men on Madison Avenue, which were the advertising companies and marketing and all that stuff. And since that's what I do for a living, like, oh man, it's freaking awesome. And I can't believe it's been this long and I haven't watched it. I'll put it that way. It's really, really good. So I think we're on season 2 right now.
How many seasons were there of that total?
4? I want to say 4 to 6. It's somewhere in there. Let me look real quick. Anyway, but man, I'll tell you what. This show makes men look like we're some damn dirtbags for real, for real.
We kind of suck, bro.
Dude, we are.
Back in the
Especially
day,
then,
like that,
yeah.
I was like, God, like they some horny ass bitches all the time. Mm-hmm. They think they could just 7 seasons, dude. I lied.
Oh yeah,
There's
it went for a
7
while.
seasons on Netflix.
Did you identify with any of these characters, Chris?
No.
That's good. See, you're a good guy. That's
Every
why.
single one of them.
You hear that, Tasha? No.
Jeremy's like, they were my damn heroes.
All of them.
No, but definitely. I mean, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's a good show. What else have we been watching? Tasha started this show. See, I always get suckered into these shows because Tasha's all, I've heard this was good. You want to watch it with me? And then one episode leads to 2, leads to 3, leads to 4, and like, shit, I'm invested now. But this one show we're watching is called Good Trouble. We're watching it on Hulu. It's about 2 adopted sisters that are taking their small town lives to go live in the big city of LA. One wants to be a lawyer. One's a big tech savvy a girl that's working for like a app company that develops new software, and she's a programmer or something. And it just deals with their lives. They live kind of like in this the community living space, which is kind of cool because a community living space is a theater, and so the lofts above are the theater, and everything downstairs is like community showers, dinner table, stuff like that. But it's one of those like teen dramas that I get sucked into.
Respect. Those are Jeremy's favorites.
They are.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely, they are.
awesome.
There's
Is this a new series or?
it's fairly new, I believe. I haven't even seen how many seasons of it
I've
there
never
are.
heard of that. Is it a Netflix original?
No, it's Freeform.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably why you haven't heard of it.
From the creators of the Fosters.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
like that Freeform channel.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
That's your favorite channel, Jeremy.
Yeah.
No, I've come across a couple things on there that I'm just like, okay, I'll keep seeing what
And you're
else
like,
is on.
next.
Didn't they produce the new Party of Five?
Yes, I believe so.
I thought so. Those bastards.
Assholes. I finished Peaky Blinders.
Oh man, was that good? I haven't started it yet.
Dude.
Yeah.
If you're going to be stuck at home, that's one you should definitely watch.
Damn it! I heard it was good.
Gillian is like, he's so good in that. Damn
He's
show.
played by Cillian Murphy, right?
Yeah. So I finished that. Definitely recommend that to anybody looking for something to watch during your quarantine time. Season 2 of All American came out on Netflix. So I gotta catch
The show
that.
touted to be the cross between the OC and Friday Night Lights.
Call bullshit.
Bullshit, indeed.
I still kind of like it, but it's not anything compared to Friday Night Lights or the OC at all. And the movie that I did watch this week, I introduced my youngest to a classic. It's an old movie called Mac and Me.
Having McDonald's and me.
It's from the 80s. It's not that old.
Dude, we're fucking old. It's over
Dude, that
30
is-
years
that's
old,
over
Jeremy.
30 years ago, Jeremy.
I know, but you're making us seem like we're in our 50s. And
We're close.
You guys are closer than I am. I'll
Fuck
just
you.
say that much.
Whatever, dick.
Not.
McDonald's and me. What persuaded that? I mean,
Dude,
I mean, I get it, but
Honestly, okay, this is what brought it. This is what made me think of this movie. So Tasha's sitting on her Facebook in bed and scrolling through some shit, right? And she comes across this one of our friends' babies. And I look at the baby and I'm like, you know who that baby looks like?
Oh, God.
dear Lord.
It looks like Mac from Mac and Me.
Oh, Jesus.
Get him a red hoodie ASAP.
And I'm like, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I want to watch it. So I found it, and yeah, I felt bad for calling the baby a little alien, but that's
You
what
didn't
spurred
like
that
comment
on.
that on the Facebook
No.
post, Okay, good.
No, I didn't. And that is why I'm not saying names either.
That's good. Yeah, that'd be good. Until they realize, like, damn, my kid does kind of look like Mac. Was he talking about me?
Son of a bitch. Well, if that person ever finds out, we'll lose a listener. If they ever listened.
And
But-
obviously with Mac and Me, it was clearly trying to capitalize on the fame that E.T.
Oh,
brought
absolutely.
towards it. I think, and much like E.T., the extraterrestrial, I think Mac, wasn't that an abbreviation for something? Isn't that like short for something too?
Dude, I don't remember.
I thought it was like
I
don't remember.
I thought I had paid attention to the movie, but I guess I didn't.
I'm gonna have to look that up. It's gonna drive me nuts. But yeah. I looked it up right here. Okay, y'all ready? It says Mac, mysterious alien creature.
Oh, my God.
That's where they got Mac from. I knew it was like because they copied E.T. like down the letter because they were, they were like, well, we can't make it just like E.T. So we'll put the kid in a wheelchair and. that movie's notorious because obviously of Paul Rudd's ongoing prank with Conan O'Brien, and there's a scene from E.T. where the kid's rolling down a mountain and literally flies off the mountain into like lake water while still on his wheelchair, and Paul Rudd somehow manages to get that clip played every time he's on the Conan O'Brien show as the clip from whatever movie he's promoting. And it's brilliant. Have y'all ever seen that?
I haven't even.
Oh my god!
Like,
I guess not.
there was somebody that was on my Facebook post that was all like, "Is it
Paul
Paul Rudd
Rudd
in
this?"
the
Yeah.
movie?"
I thought that guy either knew about the joke or he was just kind of maybe confused about it too, like thinking, "Oh, Paul Rudd has something to do with this movie." But yeah, that's the joke, is that he always brings that one clip and uses it as his promo clip for whatever movie. I'll send you a link because there's even a video montage of all of the times that Paul Rudd got Conan O'Brien on that gag, and it's so damn funny.
Oh, send a link, dude, for sure.
I definitely will. I'll post
it on the
Facebook
page, yeah.
But man,
that'll be hilarious.
and then of course the in-your-face McDonald's advertising,
Oh, and
like
Coke.
that whole, what was it, a birthday party, right? It's
Yeah,
a
it was a
birthday party at McDonald's. Man, it was just it's so
Dude,
funny.
but I ain't gonna lie, like, I loved my birthday parties at McDonald's. Right? They were the shit, dude.
You get all pissed off if it was the Hamburglar and not Grimace. You're like, I thought they all showed up.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, well, what did the boys think of it?
Oh, well, it was just Nolan. Nolan lasted probably about 30 minutes, and then he was out.
He's like, screw this, I want to watch Good Boys.
Probably.
That could be. What's that little hand the hand
It
gesture
looks like
where
a
they,
Y.
Yeah, they're like their palms are touching,
Yes.
or like the wrists are
Oh,
touching.
it's so... Dude. And, like, as much as we love actual, like, visual effects, like costumes and not CGI, this one was bad.
Yeah.
This one was real. Even for 80s, like, it was
Yeah.
bad. So, but, yeah, I went down that trail. And I watched another movie. I totally forgot it. And, I never take Steven's recommendations on to write shit down when you watch it. So if I think of it later, I'll bring it back up. But that's it for me for right now. Steven?
Oh, gentlemen.
Do you have a list?
I do, and I'll run through it as quick as possible. Okay, we already talked about The Hunt, loved it. Also watched The Invisible Man as part of the, because apparently, I'll get this into the headlines a little bit, but I can cut right through it, but the movie studios, they've released certain movies on demand that you can purchase for, I guess, like a one-time rental fee.
Yeah,
and
48 hours.
Yeah, 48 hours, okay. So we took full advantage of that. We watched The Invisible Man, The Hunt, Onward, all three great. Dude, The Invisible Man, I was really surprised by how good that was. There's a scene in there that my jaw dropped. I was so shocked because it was so unexpected, and I was like, oh, holy crap. It was just such a great movie. But yeah, I recommend those. Emma was another one that they released early. And I think they're releasing another one that I still believe about Jeremy Camp. I think they're going to release that one as well. Oh, and Bloodshot. Bloodshot should be coming out this week, too. So, yeah, I'll probably be watching those later on. But also watched Color Out of Space. Jeremy, I finished it. I think, I was on acid while never taking acid.
There you go.
That movie was a trip. I was like, what in the hell? And he was very Nicolas Cagey in that movie. He was kind of going crazy sometimes.
Yeah, at times he went full cage.
But it was pretty good. I watched this one called The Shed, about this kid who finds a vampire and hides him in the shed, and he's feeding people too. It was weird. It was different. It was okay. And we watched Spring Breakers because, spring break.
Spring break.
And, I watched that new one on Netflix called The Last Thing He Wanted with Anne Hathaway and Ben Affleck. And, man, it was another one of those kind of like The Outsider. It's for every 4 or 5 really great Netflix movies I watch, there's always one that's kind of boring and underwhelming. That was it. And I watched this one on Amazon Prime called Tigers Are Not Afraid. It's a Spanish movie about these 3 kids who this girl gets a wish. She gets 3 wishes, and it's really weird. It's kind of like a Del Toro type of fantasy horror film, and they're running from the cartels while making wishes. It was interesting. The Platform on Netflix. Chris, have you heard of The Platform by any chance on Netflix? This movie, I started it just last night actually, and it was like late. It was like 10:30, and I thought, oh, well, I'm not gonna make it through this movie, but I'll go ahead and start it. I ended up watching the whole damn thing. It was so good. It's about this. It deals with like social, class systems and stuff. This man wakes up in this room. It's like there's no pic. It's like a stone room with this big square in the center, and he has a cellmate, and then every day this platform lowers down through the squares. Unexplainable how, but it lowers down with all this food. But depending on where you are, like they switch you from, you could be like it starts on the very top level with this beautiful spread of food. And then as it lowers down to each level, the prisoners or whatever grab the food, eat as much as they want, piss on it, do whatever they want with it. And by the time it gets down to like 200, there's nothing there. So you're in this, it's crazy though, man. And It was so good. But yeah, I highly recommend The Platform. Sonya, we watched The Bronx Tale because we started watching these like mafia movies, right? Like
Would you
Donnie
get on
Brasco.
the Jackie Chan kick?
No, not Rumble in the Bronx.
Oh, okay.
a Bronx Tale with
that one.
De Niro,
Okay, yeah,
and Paul Menteri. Well, see, what had happens was we were watching Scarface, and then Donnie Brasco, and then The Bronx Tale, and then Sonya. Something happened with her. She realized, and I think it kind of started when we watched The Godfather a couple of months ago, but she realized that she was in love with Al Pacino, and I'm thinking, this is interesting because she hasn't seen a lot of his older movies, right? Like any of his old stuff. She had never seen The Godfather, so of course she's never going to see Dog Day Afternoon or Serpico or any of those movies. So, dude, we started watching all of his stuff, and we're watching Frankie and Johnny, Scent of a Woman, Serpico, Scarface. I mean, just his entire list of stuff. And I mean, man, I haven't seen Dog Day After, because there was a time in high school when I went through this like De Niro Pacino phase where it was like, oh well, these are 2 of the highly touted and most respectable actors of all time. I guess I better watch all of their stuff. And luckily, the downtown library in Amarillo had pretty much every single one of their movies. So
They did.
it had been a while since I'd seen all of them, so I'm watching them again with her, and man, he was just something else, man. Just a tour de force actor, and I forgot just how great he was, and it's funny because he gets stuck in doing stupid shit like Jack and Jill and Righteous Kill, and some of the movies more recently that didn't carry favor, as far as his respectability goes.
No.
And and it's like I don't know, but all those movies are great. And as far as the movies go, that's about it. But I did start a new show. It was The Witcher. Finally started The Witcher, and oh my god, I love it. It's so good. You haven't started that yet, have you?
No.
The Witcher?
I finished it.
You watched the whole thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So what'd you think?
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's a very nice filler for that void that Game of Thrones left. It's a very complex story, so you have to really pay attention. But when you do, it pays off pretty well. And Chris, here we go, buddy. Madison still had yet seen the 4th season of the OC, and it was expiring on Hulu, and all we have are those shitty DVDs of it. So I'm like, well, if you want to watch it in HD, you better finish it on Hulu. So we're finishing up season 4 of that. Dude, I forgot. I always thought season 4 was really bad for some reason. I had it put in my head that I didn't like it, but it's actually a lot better than I remembered it being.
It's not horrible. I think the fact that Marissa Cooper's not in there, like, throws it all off to me, but it's still pretty good.
Can I be honest with you? I was not a Marissa Cooper fan.
What the
Never
hell?
liked her. Never liked her.
She drove that show, bro.
She drove me out of that show. And she drove into a wall, which is why I'm glad she's no longer on the show. But like Taylor Townsend
Taylor, yeah.
as a replacement for Marissa. Yeah, I was like 100% for that instead.
And Taylor's super cute too.
Yeah,
so.
and she's sweet. And I was like, made a joke with Madison. I was like, oh well, Ryan doesn't know how to deal with a girl that's actually giving him all of her attention and admiration, because Marissa's always wandering about. Anyway, but we started that, and me and Madison also started rewatching Riverdale.
Rest in peace, Luke Perry.
Yeah, rip Perry. But Riverdale is so damn goofy and ridiculous and over the top.
I mean, just like the comics.
Which is probably why I like watching it, and it gets away with it. And finally, fellas, I have got some great news. Okay,
you started your own show and you're starring in it.
I wish. But Sonia, check. Madison, check. And there was only one person left in our little family here who has not seen the lights until today, gentlemen.
Wow.
Connor has watched the first 3 episodes of Friday Night Lights, and we are off.
Proud papa moment.
I am, man, and I am. This will be my 8th time watching the series.
Jesus
with
Christ.
no problem at all. I could have watched it more if I hadn't been so flooded with other stuff. But, yeah, that's all I had.
I mean, so how big of an influence do you have over him saying he likes the show? Like, if he comes to you and he's like, Dad, I know how much you love this show, but I can't stand it.
Well, no, I mean, I love him with all of my heart, but if he does say that, he's going to have to get the hell out of my house. I mean, it's kind of simple, really, And I was like, and son, you don't want to get kicked out right now because I really don't know where you would go. But
kind of like if he put on a Philadelphia Eagles jersey.
Yeah, oh my God,
he could come to my house.
I've never really, I've always had the kids, I never pushed stuff on them before, and
except for the Cowboys, asshole.
Except for the Cowboys, hey, they're big fans, Chris, huge fans, okay, and. But, I've always been like, yeah, you like what they like. And they're not, like, the biggest movie. Madison is. Madison watches a lot of movies and stuff. But Connor, he's a big gamer, right? Like, he's the wizard over here. And, which I did get on Blu-ray, finally, from Shout Factory. And the special features on that were awesome. But, that's his thing, is gaming and stuff. So it's like, for him to actually take time to watch it is kind of a pretty tough. And he loves horror. He loves horror movies and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of cocky when it comes to the lights because I've never not known anyone who didn't like it. It's like 100% approval rating for me personally, and if I recommend it to a friend or family member or anybody, I've never heard one person come back and say, oh, yeah, I didn't really care for it so much. I'm like, it's like batting 1,000 at this point, so I'm not too worried about it. But thanks for putting that out there, though, Chris.
I'm just wondering,
God, I'm going to have to kick him out.
So that's it? That's all you got?
That's all I got, man.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of other stuff, like Invasion USA with Chuck Norris.
We're good.
Oh, I didn't put it on this list because I didn't finish it. I always like to put the stuff that I finished, but I'm in the middle of this documentary called In Search of the Last Action Hero, which basically talks about all the big action stars in movies from the 80s and 90s. It's about a 2.5-hour documentary, and it is just flown by, though, because it's so ingrained with the shit that we used to watch as kids. Dude, they cover everything. Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Jackie Chan, Mel Gibson, like Die Hard, just everything. And I don't know, it's really good. I believe it's on Prime. It's In Search for the Last Action Hero, and it's so damn good.
Do they do interviews with the actors and stuff?
I mean, they don't get like the big actors, like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, but what they get are a lot of like their co-stars and a lot of the directors. Like, dude, Paul Verhoeven is in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they interview him quite a bit. He talks about like RoboCop, Total Recall, and how his, just his violence, his extreme level of violence and stuff. Like Michael Dudikoff from American Ninja's on there. It's that kind of interviews and stuff that they have. It's pretty awesome though. But yeah, other than that, man, that was about it.
Cool. All right. We have a little bit of headlines. The only really big headlines are stuff to talk about. Rona, of course, obviously. That's the only thing that's been in the news lately.
Right.
But there is some Hollywood news about the Rona, Steven, isn't there?
There are indeed, and one being, wow, yes, the whole thing is we're still heavily ingrained in the coronavirus, but man, our thing here is movies, and what has been taking such a hit more than Hollywood.
Ugh.
Like, for example, it even started with big news like Tom Hanks and Idris Elba have attracted the coronavirus, and so is Harvey Weinstein, who is serving a stint in jail for being like one of those guys in Mad Men, Chris.
Yes, he was.
Sick bastard. But like Tom Hanks, when he announced that he tested positive, him and his wife Rita Wilson tested positive for corona, people were like, "Oh my God, that Hanks! He's gone through enough."
At least he
speaking.
came out today and said he was feeling better. So.
Right, which is a good thing to say, because then you can use it as as an example of saying, hey, you may get it, but you could come out. And that's been the whole thing, is like if you don't have a lower immune system, and you happen to contract it, then it's something that you can get through. And and then him and then Idris Elba, and I can't think of too many other Hollywood celebrities that actually had it per se. But I know one thing that wasn't immune to it were Hollywood release dates for some of the biggest movies. Coming out. I mean, we had the first one that made the announcement was James Bond, because like you said, Jeremy, it was coming out in April, right? That was the original April release date, but they pushed that back to November of this year, which, you're like, wow, that seems like a really long time. You're jumping, nearly 8 months for release, but when you think about it, it's the China market is the biggest market for box office residuals nowadays, because any big movie will make up nearly 60 to 70% of its box office grosses overseas, and mostly in China. So their thoughts were like, well, we're not going to release our movie when our number one market for revenue is not even going to have open theaters. That's crazy. So that's what kind of started this whole thing about pushing release dates. And it started to happen even more so in March, because then you had movies like Mulan, and there were the New Mutants, who I think will just never see the light of day.
No.
And even Fast 9, which was set for, I believe it was was it a May release? I'm not sure, but they passed that for an entire year. They moved that. They're like, you know what? We're just moving this over to 2021 altogether. So, you're starting to see all these movies either being delayed or just pushed off for a while. And, with Universal's announcement of some of the movies that we all recently just watched because of the cinema on demand, it kind of makes you wonder, like, golly, you see movie theaters think, oh my God, this is our death knell. Because here we are, the one thing that keeps people coming to the theaters is this exclusivity of having these brand new movies and coming to the theater being the only place that you can see them. But now they've proven that you can watch these movies online at home if you purchase it. So they're like, oh shit, we're done for now, because it's, that's the whole thing. And I know some people that were like, oh yeah, we watched Onward. I'd share like a post or a story about it, like, oh yeah, we loved it, our family loved it. And when you're paying $20 for, like, say you have kids, you're watching it with Chris, you're watching it with Tasha and the two boys. That's $40 right there for just tickets alone, not to mention concessions. For $20, shit, man, you're saving anywhere from like $50 just seeing it at home. So I know that they're really, really worried about this.
The movie theater industry now, this is probably going to hemorrhage them to death.
Well, I'm curious to see, and I think they said after a week, much like box office results, they're going to start releasing how much money these films have made, because for the first time, and I think, what did they say, since the 1992 writer's strike, there were no box office results released because the theaters were closed. I don't think that's ever been the case now that I think about it. And there was nothing to report this last week because the theaters were closed, so they didn't have any box office numbers. And it's pretty crazy. And I'm thinking that if Universal has a lot of success with releasing The Hunt, The Invisible Man, and granted, The Invisible Man had already been in theaters for a couple of weeks and has already made over $100 million domestically, but if they start
it's going to keep going. They're going to keep dumping them over the next couple weeks too.
Right. And this is like the equivalent to the 80s and 90s. You remember how you would hear about some movies in the 90s getting released in theaters not doing so well, but then when they released it on video cassette, man, rentals and purchases were just making bank. Like Tremors is one of those movies that flopped at the theater, but it grew a fan base because Austin Powers as well. Like, it grew a fan base on video cassette, making more money on video cassette than they were in the theaters. And I'm thinking, man, the cinema on demand stuff, if they see that they made pretty big profits off of it, they're probably thinking, well, why should we pay to lease out our films to these theater chains when we could just do it ourselves? And I don't know, man, because Netflix and Prime, they have a lot of original content that they've somehow managed to monetize.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
And speaking of loss of life, Kenny Rogers isn't really, the biggest thespian, if you will, but
not really.
He was big news, and his passing was pretty big to the music industry. So I felt like we should have given him some kind of acknowledgement.
Wasn't there a movie called The Gambler?
Yeah. See.
So
he knew when to fold him.
He knew when to fold him.
He said, the Rona ain't gonna get me. I'm out before that shit gets me. So,
well, it got his ass because, and of course, one of my favorite episodes of Seinfeld, there's a Kenny Rogers Roasters chicken shack that opened across from Kramer's apartment with this big neon sign that burned like red lights into his apartment. So yeah, he does have his place in pop culture history, and of course in the music industry as well. But there was something funny going on, trending on Twitter today, and it made me think. And it said Iron Man 3, and I was like, why the hell is Iron Man 3 trending? That's weird. So I looked it up, and basically what it stems from is that somebody initiated the conversation of saying that, or they basically brought it upon themselves to say, okay, what was worse, Thor: The Dark World or Iron Man 3? Which of these two was the worst MCU film made, or Marvel film made? And I'm thinking, The Dark World.
Jeremy, calm down.
Like Iron Man 3, but Jesus Christ, lumping it down with Dark World? Oh no.
Jeremy started to glitch.
No shit.
That was not technical difficulties, everyone. That was just Jeremy losing his shit.
I was glitching.
Well, I'm like, okay, did they mean to say Iron Man 2? Because that movie kind of sucked,
Yeah, that one's terrible. Iron Man 3 is awesome in its own right.
But I didn't want to... I was kind of curious to see what you guys thought was the worst Marvel film, just in general. Because it made me think, I'm like, wow, yeah, I guess Dark World was definitely the weakest. If you're counting just like the MCU movies, Dark World... But I still think Iron Man 2 was probably the weakest of the MCU movies.
That one was pretty bad.
I don't know. Black Panther sucked.
Liar.
Although that's the way I greet everybody now. No handshakes, just the Wakanda. I do COVID forever.
I loved that article you shared about who was Octavia
Spencer.
Yeah, she said we shall greet everyone as Wakanda forever. It's funny because I still want to shake hands, and people are putting the fist down. I'm like, oh god, I'm sorry, I forgot. And I'll grab the fist. They're like, you sick bastard. But yeah, I was I don't know. I was thinking about the worst Marvel film, but yeah, I don't think Black Panther is really that low on the totem pole for me. But I don't know. I guess I would probably say, dude, Thor: The Dark World was so blah and boring that they had to bring in a completely different
Oh.
You know, a director with completely different style and storytelling ability to just rebrand the whole Thor series. And not only did Taika Waititi come in and rebrand it, he made it like the best MCU movie.
He really did, because Thor 4 would not exist if Thor 3 hadn't have been so damn good.
Dude, I find myself like going back to watch Ragnarok more than anything else.
That's
you know?
the one I watch over and over. I love Ragnarok.
Did you see that Netflix show Ragnarok? I guess it's about
I saw the previews.
It looks interesting, but I
Yeah.
haven't watched it yet. It's not like Thor, but it's more about the Norse mythology of Thor. I don't know. It's like one of his descendants has the power of Odin or some shit. I don't know. It looked interesting, but it's not superhero-esque. I don't know. It seems to be a pretty global idea, and not so much as a confined one, or as, you know, one would say, stuck in one single setting, if you will.
Oh, Steven with the lead-ins. Did you miss that last week? Like, you couldn't lead in yourself. I was
couldn't
hard.
segue myself, and I botched it like all hell. It was terrible. And Jeremy's just like, I'm going to let this guy burn himself to the stake. No help whatsoever.
And you burn.
Yeah.
And Jeremy just stood there smoking a cigarette watching you.
He lit his cigarette off my ashes.
Oh, man. So what we're doing tonight, since we're all in quarantine, and hopefully everybody else stays in one room or one house, we want to rattle off some of the movies that we love that have taken place in one specific area.
And before we get into it, to go back to the Twitter thing, there's this hashtag that's been going around that people need to, from the looks of all the beaches and shit, it's hashtag stay the fuck home.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
It's that simple.
Stay home.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of applies to movies that I feel, like I said, tight-fitting quarters, if you will. Like, you could be in an entire film that takes place in one room, one setting, you know, just kind of, it doesn't have to be a house, per se.
Right.
It could be, like, you know, I don't know, like, say, for example, something like Clerks.
Clever.
Takes
Yeah.
place in,
A convenience store.
right.
Absolutely. You know, we're all fans of Kevin Smith, so Clerks is right up there for all of us. You know, one that comes to my mind really, really fast is The Breakfast Club.
Oh, that's, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Dude.
That's a good one.
That's perfect.
And it's funny because yesterday I went to Walmart to buy some necessities, and I picked up a 500-piece puzzle for me and Tasha to do, and it's the Breakfast Club movie poster.
Is that those ones that come in like the...
Like
they
a
look at
Blockbuster movie
video
case?
cassette?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they really restocked the shelves yet?
They do, but they sell out within an hour, dude.
Yeah, Target restocked the toilet paper yesterday morning, and it was gone in like 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I saw a guy drag a pallet of toilet paper out a couple nights ago at Walmart. And
See, and they should
he
limit
didn't
that
even
shit.
bother to put it on the rack. He just stopped the pallet jack, dropped it, and took his two-wheeler back to the back, and
That's bullshit.
everybody else was just rifting through the toilet
Hey,
paper.
we're not supposed to be talking about depressing shit. We're talking about movies taking place in one.
And
Come on,
here's
guys.
Jeremy
I know.
to go like off the reservoir.
Let's go.
See, this is perfect for Jeremy. We need to teach you how to stay in one place.
Stay in your lane, bro.
Stay home, Jeremy. Stay the fuck home, like you said, man.
I am now. I
Okay,
have
Jeremy.
to.
Jeremy, what movie do you got? What do you think?
What do you think?
What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What movie do you think? What
Well, are we doing several or
Just list, man.
Just
We're
name
talking
some
about
movies
it,
that
yeah.
you like the most. It could be a house, it could
Well,
be anywhere, but it stays in one place.
I really like Clerks 2. That pretty much is the same as Clerks 1.
Right.
This one just takes place in movies and on top of movies.
Fair enough.
And then Panic Room. I love Panic Room.
Yeah.
Panic Room is a good choice, man. Like, that's literally not just in the house, but like a section of the house.
A little
Yeah.
bitty room, yes.
That movie is so good. I remember when that came out, and we were just kind of like high on David Fincher, because that was his follow-up to Fight Club, wasn't it? I think it was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we were just like, oh shit, the director of Fight Club. But I'm like, Panic Room, it's taking place in one room. Like, how is that going to be interesting? Oh, yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Leave it to Fincher. He'll make it interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And man, talk about, like, at least when you're quarantined in your house, you can kind of be around your house. Like, they're in that little section of the house.
Yeah.
A little too
So-
claustrophobic.
Speaking of claustrophobic, one of my favorite ones, it kind of takes place in the one cavern, and it gets very claustrophobic. The Descent.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes.
dude, like that is still to this day, like, I don't get scared often by movies like jumps, but every time I watch that damn movie, there's one part in that movie, man, that gets me every damn time, and I'm like, what the fuck? Ugh, stupid ass movie.
I like the layers of that film, because not only are you dealing with lack of oxygen, personal issues between the two friends, but then you've got these like weird gargoyle monsters chasing after you. That's a really good movie.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess like horror movies are pretty good for this type of, category. Because I was thinking about, or like sci-fi horror movies, like the movie I was talking about earlier, The Platform. I mean, it took place literally in one square, the whole movie, and it was so good, and kind of like Cube. Do y'all remember Cube?
Yeah.
Basically, Cube is like that too. I mean, I know you're going into another cube per se, but you're still in one square the entire movie.
Well,
Right.
and Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, in the mall.
In the
Yeah,
mall.
well, even the original Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, they're trapped in the mall. Man, that'd be a hell of a nice place to be quarantined. The entire mall. Unless it's an outlet mall, then you're screwed.
I know.
The flea market.
Jeez.
Who was it? T-Anchor. Can you imagine being stuck at T-Anchor?
Oh, dear God.
Man, at least you have more room. Like, unlike Phone Booth, when Colin Farrell's in the phone booth the
that
entire
poor
movie.
Bastard.
Like, God, I remembered when we saw that too. We were like, "How the hell is this movie gonna be?" And it was only like an hour and 15 minutes long. I was like, "Is that even legal to release a movie that short into theaters?"
And it was
Well, they did.
actually kind of good.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was like, "This is not bad at all," and there were some pretty good twists and stuff. And I remember like the big deal was like Kiefer Sutherland was the guy on the phone, and you never really even saw him and stuff. But yeah, I like that. Oh, I got one for you. Glengarry Glen Ross.
There you go.
The entire movie, except for like one or two scenes, it takes place in the
Office.
the sales office of Mitch and Murray, where they sell their real estate. It was like because it's a stage play, and anytime you adapt a stage play into a film, that's typically what's going to happen. It's like Death Trap, the old '80s film with Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve, where they're authors who are kind of dueling with one another and dealing with murder, and they stay place in his cabin. I mean, it's stuff like that. I think that really heightens the intensity of a movie, like 12 Angry Men. That's another one. It's in the juror's room the entire film. And you've got to be a pretty damn good writer to write a story that takes place in such a confined setting and be riveting the entire time. And I don't know, man. There's just a couple of like Misery. That's another
Misery.
Yeah.
Clue.
Yeah. Clue is a good one, and that one's played for comedy, and I think comedy also helps too, because kind of like The Breakfast Club, like there's a lot of comedy in it that helps propel it forward, and I think with Clue, and even this, because we saw the stage play of it a couple of weeks ago, it's so funny, and that confinement, it works so well in that house, and like what was it, like Hitchcock's Rear Window. I mean, it pretty much takes place from Jimmy Stewart just looking outside his window into his neighbor's apartment. It's not that complex, but yet the movie is so engaging. But
there's also Dread in The Raid.
oh my god, that's perfect. Yeah, one building. Man, you want to talk about confinement? They literally locked Judge Dredd in that building.
So, I'll end this. I mean, we're coming upon our time, but there's one movie that brings all of this shit to circle. That everything is happening to us right now. 2008 Quarantine.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, the CDC quarantined these people into their building after a mysterious virus. So
See, that's what we missed on the last episode. That would have been perfect for the last day. That works. Here I am talking about like Reservoir Dogs.
That movie kind of sucks.
it
No,
sucks,
man, it was
but
pretty
it
good.
Yeah.
With Jennifer Carpenter
Yeah.
as the
The television
a lot
reporter.
of night
Yeah,
vision
yeah.
shit.
yeah, it was pretty good. What was a remake of the Wreck or Record, however you want to say it, the Mexican version?
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's pretty good too. But man, that's a perfect example. Yeah, like it really does. Next thing is like we should just recommend Pandemic on Netflix.
Oh man.
Oh, but Chris, also like This Is the End. That's a perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Because the apocalypse is literally taking place.
or
So
the
all these guys-
Purge.
or the Purge. Yeah, you're stuck in your house. Like you do not want to go outside. The Purge is even scarier
You
because
need weapons
like-
for the purge.
that and like that doesn't seem so far off with a bunch of loons running around. Especially if they take martial law into their hands.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, man,
We should have talked about a happier topic.
next week. Next week. I mean, if we're going to be quarantined, boys, we're going to put out some episodes.
Yeah.
But guys, before we sign off, any last words or anything?
I'm good. You guys stay safe and wash your hands.
Damn right.
And your ass if you're with other people.
Oh my god.
And if you don't have toilet paper, jump in the shower after and wash your ass.
Just use the Demolition Man's 3 seashells.
There you go.
It's going to come down to that. I mean, shoot. You know,
It will.
where
I should
everybody's
have
well
invested
made.
in a bidet at this point.
Sales of bidets have gone through the roof
Well,
lately.
yeah.
Of course they have.
All right. Well, guys, just like the guy said, keep clean. Please keep clean. Please take this serious. To what all the CDC is recommending. Practice your social distancing. We want to, as what I've heard out there, is flatten the curve. Flatten out how many people actually get infected here in the U.S. By this pandemic. And it all starts with hygiene, guys. Just wash your hands. Keep clean. Keep your distance. If we can keep our distance for a couple weeks, we can flatten that curve, and this will all blow over faster than it can be drawn out for. On that note, before we sign off, I wanted really quick to give a shout out to one of our listeners and one of our very, very good friends in the podcast world, Andre Hutchins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude, if you have not listened to his podcast, it's called The Backseat Directors. Look it up. Pretty much anywhere you can find us, you can find him. And visit his website, backseatdirectors.com. And this is why I wanted to give him a shout out. He, without us asking or anything, he has put us on his website as one of his podcast friends. And guys, that's huge for us, and for somebody to put us out there that basically has the same kind of show where we talk about movies and stuff. That's big. And Andre, dude, if you listen into the show, us three cannot thank you enough for all the support that you've given us since we became friends a couple of years ago on Twitter. Dude, I know you were starting out this new adventure with your podcast and your YouTube and all these things. Dude, I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope everything takes off for you tremendously. We'll always be here for you. We're always ready and willing to be a show guest on the Backseat Directors, and dude, we're gonna bring you on sometime really quick. So look for that invite really quick. I just wanted to put that out there real quick. Sorry, I forgot to tell y'all guys I was gonna do that.
Jeez, get a room, bro.
Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. If since you're listening, wherever you're listening on it, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and now because of Steven Sosa, we are where, Steven?
iHeartRadio.
That's
Yeah.
right. My friends, we are now on iHeartRadio, which means, do you know what this means now, Steven, that you got us on iHeartRadio?
No.
No.
This
But please
means
tell me.
we will be able to be eligible for iHeartRadio's podcast awards.
Oh yeah, that I knew.
Yay!
It was, and it was. They say that as far as podcast distribution, they say I think Apple and then iHeartRadio is the number one podcast distributor out there. So for us to be part of their catalog of shows is it's pretty awesome.
Big, yes.
Yes.
I thought I was gonna have to do some Andy King Fire Festival schmoozing to get into there, but luckily, our talent, us as a team, a unit, has brought us to the dance.
That's right.
Damn right.
So if you listen to your podcast on iHeartRadio, find us there. We're now there. And leave reviews, please, if you can. 5 stars would be best. That helps us get seen and in the searches a lot better. And then since you're there, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. And then follow us on social media as well. We're on all the social media platforms. Facebook and Instagram. All you got to do is look for the Screen Addicts podcast. And on Facebook as well, if you want to join our group, this is probably where we're most active, posting trailers, movie news, and all the things that we kind of talk about on the show. Look for the Screen Addicts Fanatics group. Just send a request to join, and we'll let you join there. And man, there's a ton of awesome people that post funny memes and clips of movies and trailers and stuff like that. So come be a part of that community. It's pretty awesome. If you're on the Twitter machine, look for us there, Screen_Addicts, and Addicts is spelled ADDICS. And I just remembered, Steven, did you change our name on Instagram? Did I say that wrong?
No, yeah, it's actually _Screen_Addicts.
Okay.
And what I did was I was trying to, keep the Screen Addicts group like as its own entity, if you will,
Gotcha.
and like our podcast is part of us, the Screen Addicts, kind of a deal like that.
Gotcha.
But, I mean, all you have to do is just search Screen Addicts and it'll pop right up.
You'll find us. Okay. I wanted to be sure. I thought I remembered you saying that in the last episode. So, awesome, guys. Thanks for listening tonight. We'll be back again soon because we're all in the house. So,
Right. See y'all tomorrow.
yes. So, as for me, good night.
Adios, amigos.
Good evening.
Thank you for listening to the Screen Addicts podcast.